Thing that you're seeing with regard to this industry is positive movement forward, right? This is a very popular issue with the U.S. Population. We see that it's an electable issue now from a political standpoint. You've got governors in multiple states that are winning their elections based on being pro-cannabis. So I think everybody is sort of expecting that cannabis will continue this trajectory towards a different legal status going forward.
Scott Gamm's here with us too. Do you want to weigh in on this as well?
Yeah, Charlie, I wanted to ask you, because your background is in the mortgage industry, of course, a highly regulated space. The cannabis area is highly regulated. The fact that cannabis is still illegal at the federal level here in the U.S., how big of a hurdle is that, not only for your business, but also for attracting outside investors?
Sure, I think at this point, with the majority of states having passed legalized cannabis laws, and us operating in states, of course, that only have highly regulated, compliance-focused legal programs, we've been able to carve out our niche, which focuses on those types of programs that's been acceptable and rewarded by the investors that have invested in us.
So cannabis, of course, is a commodity business, and this is something I like to ask every cannabis-related company, which is, how do you differentiate yourself? You talked about the niche that you guys are in, but what are the barriers to entry here? What's to stop another company from coming in and trying to duplicate what you're doing?
Yeah, certainly. So, what we heard from institutional investors on our last roadshow, what really differentiated us compared to some of the other parties that they've met with, is Cresco's ability to execute, the ability for us to gain access to these restricted markets, either by winning licenses or by acquiring licenses. And then it was the operational excellence, the ability to become operational, to get product to market and establish disproportionately large market shares. But then it's also really our focus on the branding and consumer packaged goods side of this. And so if you're looking at, from our perspective, the upside opportunity in this space was by creating brands, consumer brands that resonated and had staying power. We also looked at it as a great downside risk mitigator. So if and when interstate commerce comes and this really does truly commoditize, that brand is about as good of an insurance against commoditization as you could have.
When you say consumer brands, are you talking about CBD? Are you talking about recreational edibles? Are you talking about just pure raw cannabis that people might smoke?
All of the above. Really, this is a branded product, and in all of the highly regulated markets, this product cannot leave our facility unless it is consumer packaged. So it gives you the ability to really create that communication, that messaging with the consumer through a packaging, just like consumer products traditionally do. So we've created, again, a house of brands approach that has products that are specifically geared to communicate with each major market segment, from medical to lifestyle and wellness to that sophisticated, educated, traditional cannabis customer in an appropriate and direct way.
For investors watching cannabis companies go public in Canada, in the U.S., what is your advice for them? I mean, is there long-term growth prospects here, or is this just speculation at this point?
No, I think we're long on cannabis. Cannabis has the opportunity, as you'd mentioned, analysts are saying a $75 billion industry within the next 5 years. That's getting close to where beer is at. Beer is about a $100 billion industry. So the growth opportunity is clearly there. The market, it's been around for 5,000 years. We joke that this is a startup industry that's been around for 5,000 years. So that the market is there. All it needed was people to come in and normalize and professionalize it, and that's what Cresco's done from the beginning.
Just one final question. Why do a reverse IPO structure? Why not do a more traditional selling? I mean, it seems like even though pot stocks have come down, there is still demand from investors.
So, speed to the capital markets was probably the main driver for us. That RTO structure is a faster, more efficient way to access capital markets, especially in that Canadian Securities Exchange. And so with our business model of making sure that we can get into these new markets, right, we execute. That's what we do. And we define executing as being able to get into a market, to be able to get operational, to get products to market, and then get that disproportionate market share. So access to capital for us was key.
We're going to be nominating at some point a new Attorney General in the United States, and this whole issue of Schedule I, Schedule II is going to be, a big issue. Can you make a prediction as to when the federal government would no longer consider marijuana or cannabis a Schedule I kind of drug? Is that a year off, 2 years off?
Very difficult to project an actual time frame, but one thing you can see, right, from the recent results is that cannabis is a popular issue, and it's now crossing both party lines. You've got Republicans and Democrats both thinking about this as an electable opportunity and position for them to take.